Ever wondered why some security guards refuse to work alone? Here's why. Mike was a seasoned security guard at an old hospital scheduled for demolition. The pay was good, but the night shifts were dreadful. One night, as Mike patrolled the basement, he noticed flickering lights and the faint echo of footsteps. He called out, but no one responded. He followed the sounds to an old surgical room. Inside, dusty equipment lay scattered, but what caught his eye was a leather security belt draped over a chair. Mike recognized it. It belonged to Carl, a guard who had mysteriously vanished months earlier. Suddenly, the room's lights cut out. In the darkness, Mike heard Carl's faint whisper, "Don't let it see you." A cold breath brushed his neck. Mike bolted out of the room, but in the hallway stood a twisted figure in a tattered hospital gown, hollow eyes fixed on him. He sprinted back to his booth, but when he checked the security cameras, every feed showed the creature staring directly into the lens. The next morning, the supervisor found Mike's booth empty. Only his badge remained. Sometimes the things that go bump in the night are closer than you think. I used to work the night shift at the City Records Archive. It was a lonely job, just me, a desk, and endless rows of dusty shelves filled with forgotten documents. Most nights were quiet, but there was one room we never entered, Storage Room 7. Legend said the room was cursed. A clerk named Edwin vanished there decades ago, leaving behind nothing but a crumpled note that read, "Don't wake it." Management kept the room locked, but I always felt uneasy walking past it. One night I was sorting files when I heard a loud bang from down the corridor. Heart racing, I grabbed my flashlight and followed the sound. The air turned icy cold as I neared Storage Room 7. The padlock, which was usually rusted shut, now dangled loose. The door stood ajar. Curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room smelled of mildew and rot. Old books and crumbling papers littered the floor. In the center stood a wooden crate nailed shut. Scratches marred the lid. Deep, jagged marks like claws had raked across it. I leaned closer, and the crate shook. Something inside scraped against the wood. Breathless, I stumbled back. The crate thumped violently, the nails creaking as if something inside was forcing its way out. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut. I banged on the door, screaming, but the archive's thick walls muffled my cries. Behind me, the crate's lid splintered. A figure rose from within, twisted and shadowed, with hollow eyes that gleamed faintly in the dark. Its limbs jerked unnaturally as it crawled from the crate, whispering in a guttural voice, "You woke me." In sheer panic, I grabbed a rusted metal shelf and shoved it toward the figure. It staggered back, giving me just enough time to wrench the door open and sprint down the corridor. By the time I reached the main entrance, I heard heavy footsteps echoing behind me. I slammed the doors shut and bolted them. When I looked back, the shadowy figure stood on the other side of the glass, grinning. The next morning, I quit my job. The archive sealed Storage Room 7 for good, but I still dream about that twisted figure and its cold whisper promising, "I'll find you." Ever worked a night shift and heard something you weren't supposed to? Here's what happens when you don't listen. I used to work as a cleaner at St. Vincent's Medical Center. The place was old, with flickering lights, peeling wallpaper, and a basement no one liked to talk about. I figured it was just a weird old hospital until I took the night shift. On my second week, I was mopping the hallway near the stairwell when I heard it. A faint whisper, soft yet unmistakable. "Help me." I froze. It seemed to come from the basement. The security guard, Malik, had warned me never to go down there. "If you hear anything," he'd said, "just walk away. Don't ask questions, don't check." I tried to ignore it, but the whisper returned. "Please, it's so cold." Against my better judgment, I grabbed my flashlight and went down the basement stairs. The air turned freezing, and the faint smell of mildew clung to my clothes. The old storage room doors were all locked, except one. Room B3. The door hung slightly open. "Hello?" I called. No answer. I pushed the door open and shined my light inside. The room was cluttered with rusted equipment and forgotten furniture. In the corner stood an old examination table, and beneath it I saw fingers. Pale, curled fingers gripping the table's metal leg. "Oh my God!" I gasped. "Help! Me!" The voice pleaded again. I rushed forward, expecting to find someone trapped, but as I bent down, the fingers twitched, then melted into the floor like smoke. Before I could react, cold air blasted past me and the door slammed shut. The whispers grew louder, circling the room. "Come closer, closer." I pounded on the door, screaming for help. Suddenly, footsteps thundered down the stairs. The door burst open, and Malik stood there, face pale. He yanked me out and dragged me upstairs. "What did you see?" he demanded once we reached the lobby. "There was someone in there." Malik shook his head. "That basement. They used it for quarantining patients decades ago. People died down there. Some say their spirits still call out, hoping someone will join them. I never returned to that hospital. But sometimes, when I'm walking alone at night, I swear I still hear it, that faint whisper on the wind. Please, it's so cold." Some places aren't meant to be watched, and some things watch back. When Mark took the night guard position at Hillside Factory, he thought it would be easy money. The building had been closed for years, and his only task was to ensure no trespassers snuck inside. "Just walk the floors every hour," his boss had told him, "but stay away from the West Wing." Mark laughed off the warning. "What's in there?" "Ghosts?" His boss only muttered, "Just don't go near it." For the first few nights, everything was uneventful. The factory was cold, silent, and boring. But on his fifth night, things changed. During his 2 a.m. patrol, Mark noticed a flickering light down the West Wing. Curiosity gnawed at him, and against better judgment, he went to investigate. The air grew colder the closer he got. The hallway smelled of rust and stagnant water. At the end of the corridor stood a door, room 401, slightly ajar. From inside, Mark heard faint footsteps pacing back and forth. "Anyone in there?" he called, gripping his flashlight tightly. No answer. He pushed the door open. The room was empty, except for footprints in the dust, wet footprints leading to a closet. "Security!" Mark barked, his voice shaking. "Come out now!" The closet door creaked open, and a figure stepped out. It wore a factory worker's uniform, but its face was all wrong. Skin stretched too tightly over bones, eyes sunken and milky white. It grinned at Mark, exposing jagged teeth. Mark stumbled back as the figure lunged. He bolted down the hallway, the thing's footsteps slapping wetly behind him. He reached the security office, slammed the door, and locked it. Heart pounding, he watched the monitor screens. One by one, the cameras cut to static, except for one. Room 401? The figure stood there, grinning into the camera, mouthing 2 words. "Your turn." Moments later, the security room door rattled violently. Mark grabbed his keys and bolted through the emergency exit. The next morning, the factory's manager found Mark's gear left on the floor, but no sign of Mark himself. The only clue was a single trail of wet footprints leading back to room 401. They never hired another night guard again. Some calls aren't meant to be answered, especially when no one is supposed to be on the other end. Rachel had been working the night shift at Evergrove Apartments for 2 months. Her job was simple: monitor the lobby intercom, sign in guests, and ensure no one suspicious wandered in. The building was old, with flickering lights and a faint smell of mildew that never seemed to fade. On her third week, something strange happened. Around 2:15 a.m., the intercom buzzed. Rachel glanced at the screen. Apartment 907. "Hello," she answered. Static crackled, followed by a faint voice. "Help me." "Hello." "Who is this?" Rachel asked, but the line went dead. She checked the guest log. Apartment 907 had been vacant for months after the tenant, an elderly man named Mr. Whitaker, passed away. Figuring it was a wiring glitch, Rachel ignored it. But the calls kept coming. Night after night, the intercom buzzed at exactly 2:15 a.m. Each time, the voice grew clearer. "Help me. I can't get out. They won't let me go." One night, curiosity won. Rachel grabbed her flashlight and took the elevator to the 9th floor. The hallway was dim, the wallpaper curling at the edges. Apartment 907's door stood slightly open. "Hello?" Rachel called, stepping inside. The air was icy cold. Furniture lay covered in dust sheets. In the corner, an old rotary phone sat on the floor, the receiver dangling off the hook. Rachel moved closer and picked it up. "You shouldn't be here," a voice whispered directly into her ear. She spun around. A figure stood by the window, gaunt, pale, with empty sockets where eyes should have been. Its mouth twisted unnaturally wide as it spoke. "They took me. Now they'll take you." The door slammed shut. Rachel pounded on it, screaming, but the voice in the phone kept whispering, "They won't let you leave. They won't let you leave." Moments later, she felt cold fingers wrap around her wrist. The next morning, the building manager found Rachel's clipboard on the lobby desk, but she was never seen again. Residents claim the intercom still buzzes every night at 2:15 a.m., and if you answer, you might hear Rachel's voice whispering, "Help me. I can't get out." Samantha worked the night shift at a small-town police station. Most calls were routine, but one night, at exactly 2:33 a.m., a call came from Room 6 at the old roadside motel, a place long abandoned. The voice on the line whispered, "Help me. It's here." Dispatch logs confirmed Room 6 had been closed for years. Curiosity got the better of Samantha, and she convinced Officer Grant to check it out. Upon arrival, they found Room 6 unlocked. Inside, the room was coated in dust except for the freshly made bed. The phone receiver dangled off the hook. Suddenly, the bathroom door creaked open, revealing a shadowed figure standing motionless. Grant called out, but the figure lunged at him with unnatural speed. Samantha screamed and fled to the car. When backup arrived, there was no sign of Grant, only his radio, still crackling with static. The motel was demolished weeks later. Every year, on the anniversary of that call, the station phone rings at 2:33 a.m. Some spirits don't leave. They just wait for someone to notice them. Jason never believed the rumors about the old call center where he worked. Colleagues whispered about strange noises and shadowy figures in the break room, but Jason shrugged it off as typical night shift paranoia. After all, the building was just old, creaky pipes, flickering lights. Nothing unusual. One night, Jason was scheduled to cover an overnight shift alone. By 1 a.m., he was exhausted. The call queue had died down, so he decided to grab a snack from the break room vending machine. The room was dimly lit by a flickering overhead light. The microwave's digital clock blinked 3 a.m., though Jason knew it was barely past 1. Dismissing it as a power surge, he turned to the vending machine. As he inserted his money, he heard a faint tap, 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 coming from the far corner of the room. He froze, listening carefully. The sound came again, slow, rhythmic, like fingertips drumming on wood. "Hello?" he called out, but no one answered. Jason grabbed his snack and turned to leave, but something on the break room table caught his eye. A coffee mug. It wasn't there earlier. The name M. Harper was scrawled on the side in faded marker. Curious, Jason asked his supervisor about it the next morning. Harper, she frowned. He used to work here. Years ago. Died of a heart attack. Right there in the break room. Jason's stomach tightened. That night, curiosity got the better of him. He checked the old employee records. Michael Harper had been found collapsed in the break room at exactly 3 a.m. On his next shift, Jason stayed late again, this time watching the break room clock. At exactly 3 a.m., the microwave screen flickered and the lights dimmed. The faint tapping returned, louder this time. A shadow moved in the corner, a blurry figure seated at the table. Jason stared in disbelief as the shape turned toward him. A pale face emerged from the dark, hollow eyes locked onto his. The figure whispered something Jason couldn't understand, then slowly lifted a hand and pointed at the mug with M. Harper written on it. Jason bolted from the room. The next morning, he brought Harper's mug to the building's back lot and left it there. The break room remained quiet after that. No more tapping, no more shadows. But sometimes, when Jason works late, he swears he still hears a faint voice from the break room whispering, "Don't forget me." Reflections don't always show what's really there. Sometimes they show what's waiting for you. When Elena started her new job as a night receptionist at the Larkspur office complex, she didn't expect much excitement. The building was sleek and modern, all glass walls and spotless floors. Her main job was to sit at the front desk, greet the occasional late worker, and ensure no one suspicious entered after hours. By her second week, Elena noticed something strange. Each night around 2 a.m., she'd see a shadow moving behind the glass walls of the conference room. At first, she assumed it was a reflection, maybe a car's headlights outside or a flickering light fixture. But the shadow didn't behave like a reflection. It moved deliberately, slowly. One night, curiosity got the better of her. She approached the glass wall, staring inside the empty conference room. The shadow stood perfectly still in the far corner, a tall figure with distorted limbs. As she shifted her angle, the shadow moved with her, almost as if it were watching her through the glass. Elena retreated to her desk and checked the security footage. The conference room camera showed nothing, no figure, no shadow, just empty chairs and tables. The next night, the shadow returned, closer this time. Its outline was sharper, and Elena could see a face, blank and stretched with hollow eyes. The figure pressed a hand against the glass, its fingers impossibly long. Panicked, Elena called security. When the guard arrived, the shadow had vanished. "It's just your mind playing tricks," the guard assured her. But Elena knew better. The following night, she brought a pocket mirror and placed it on her desk, angled toward the conference room glass. When the shadow appeared at 2 a.m., Elena stared at the mirror instead of the room itself. The reflection showed something far worse. The figure wasn't just behind the glass. It was standing directly behind her. She spun around, but the lobby was empty. Elena quit the next morning. Weeks later, she heard that her replacement vanished during a shift. Security found the front desk overturned, and the glass in the conference room splintered, as if something had finally broken through. Some patients never leave, even after they're forgotten. St. Vincent Hospital had long been known for its outdated architecture and eerie silence at night. Emily had been working the night shift as a nurse for nearly a year, but she'd always followed one strict rule: never go near floor 13. Technically, the hospital didn't even have a floor 13. The elevators skipped from 12 to 14. But the staff whispered rumors about a forgotten ward, a place sealed off years ago. One night, Emily was finishing her rounds when she heard faint coughing from the stairwell. Assuming a patient had wandered off, she followed the sound. The coughing grew louder as she climbed, until she reached a locked steel door marked 13. a door she'd never seen before. "Hello," she called, pressing her ear against the cold metal. "Please," a weak voice rasped from the other side. I need help." Against her better judgment, Emily dug out her keys. None fit the lock. Desperate, she ran to her supervisor. "You didn't hear anything," her supervisor said firmly. "Don't talk about floor 13. Don't go back there." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The voice haunted her. The next evening, curiosity got the better of her. She returned to the stairwell and found the door ajar. Inside, the air was stale and cold. The hallway was lined with rusted beds and peeling wallpaper. A flickering light revealed old medical charts scattered across the floor, each with the same name, Daniel Huxley. "Hello," Emily called again, stepping deeper inside. A frail figure emerged from the shadows, a man in a faded hospital gown, his face gaunt and hollow-eyed. "You heard me," he whispered, stepping closer. "They forgot me. They left me here." Emily stumbled back as the man's breathing turned ragged. His face twisted into something unnatural, his eyes blackened, his mouth stretching wide. "Don't leave me again," he snarled, reaching for her. Emily sprinted back to the stairwell, slamming the steel door shut behind her. The next morning, she found a single patient chart on her desk, Daniel Huxley. According to the file, he had died 20 years earlier, after being left unattended on floor 13 during a lockdown. No one believed her story. But on quiet nights, when Emily passed the stairwell, she could still hear faint coughing and a voice whispering, "Don't leave me. Not again."